Who's ready for lunch? Okay, good. So I got 2 more hours. I'm joking. No. So there are a lot of good stuff, right? So we've talked about today with the. Awesome. So we've been talking about a lot of things about the financial house, right? We talked about the foundation. We've talked about debt and savings. We've talked about retirement. We've talked about the children's future. Like, who can share, like, what was, like, your favorite layer? Did anyone have a favorite layer or something that stood out to them today so far? The $1 Million Baby? Yeah, that was always my favorite. Yeah, I love that concept. How many guys, when you look at the $1 Million Baby, you're like, how many guys said, man, like, I'm how old and I would have had how much if my parents started with, like, so much, right? You can even show a plan, like, I started to show, like, $100, and $100, a child at 1, $100 could be at 60 is worth $1 million, tax-free. Just $100, right? And that's never changing. And so just little things like that, like, kind of blow your mind to realize, and that could have been money that could have been used at different stages. And so I just think different strategies, timing is everything, right? Of things like that, and I think it blows everyone's mind. And whatever layer you resonate with, I think is always a big deal. And so thank you for sharing. So whatever layer it is, though, the one thing we're going to talk about is roofing. Who's my roofing guy here? Right, so the roofs are important, right? But to have the roof, you have to finish the rest of the house, right? Like, so ideally, the roof is important once the house is done. And so we're going to talk a little bit about estate planning. And just to kind of disclosure, I am not an estate attorney, and neither is Bryce. And that's not our goal. For our scenarios for the estate plans, we actually work with preferred partners. We were referencing Ethos earlier. Ethos, actually, their plans actually come with a free digital estate plan, which is nice. So, like, there's just different scenarios and based on the case. But let's talk about this. So wills, trust, the statistic. What's the number one reason people actually don't have an estate plan or will? What does it say? Does anyone resonate with that comment? Right? I remember before my mother-in-law passed away, I remember talking to her about, Mom, you need an estate plan. Mom, you need an estate plan. And she goes, it's funny you keep saying that, because she was going to a senior center for 10 years, and every month they'd have a estate planning. She goes, yeah, I just haven't got around to it. She literally would say that for years. And all I did eventually is I just brought the estate attorney to their house. And I said, Mom, Dad, you need to get this in order, right? Because, and not knowing that 3 years later they actually passed away. Both of them passed away in the same year, right? So I've seen this stuff work, and so the getting around to it is a real thing. And I'm going to add one layer to this. If someone has family and all that, and you need to have an estate plan, we'll talk about reasons why. Something you also need to consider, because I have a client this just happened to. They had said the same thing, we'll get back to it. The husband ended up getting dementia out of nowhere. Now they can't get the trust in place. They have to go through something called conservatorship. They have to go to court, and it's going to take 6 months to a year to get the documentation done now, because he can no longer speak for himself. And so now the courts get involved to do it. And so now they're freaking out because it's all this money and energy and all that. So I'm just telling you too, timing is everything too. Like, you got to do this stuff way before things like that happen. It's a real conversation for people. So don't let getting around to it be the reason. Right? That's not a good reason in essence. Jay, next slide. And here's why. 7 out of 10 adults do not have an estate plan. How many adults are here? Right? Or just think about that, and just think about your own communities. Think about, like, wherever you live right now, your whole community. 7 out of 10 who actually need it actually don't have an estate plan. And here's another statistic of the 30% roughly that have one. 1 out of 3 need to update it. So that's another thing. So an out-of-date estate plan is just as bad as not having one. Right? Because, like, say they bought a new property, or they changed homes and they sold something and bought a new one, things like that. People, oh shoot, I forgot to update it, right? So just things like that. Just keep that in mind if you have family, friends, people like that. This is always sometimes an easier conversation. The roof conversation, the estate planning conversation, sometimes is a lot easier than trying to tell people they need life insurance. What we find, but they're all very important. Next slide, Jay. So the solution is estate planning. Again, there's a couple different. We have the digital estate plan that we can get through Ethos, which is nice. It's full digital. It's like a do-it-yourself type of software, and then you have to get it notarized and all that. What I tend to find is a lot of people like having someone talk to them. Right? They want to have a consultation and go through the process, because there's a lot to understand. And so we work with a lot of preferred vendors. and estate attorneys, and they can do virtual appointments. And because of our network, those consultations are free, right? So you can make the decision. You don't have any kind of obligation to go through the process to actually get it. All we have to do is just make sure you qualify for it. So Jay, next slide. So how do you qualify for one, or how do you know if you really, really need one? There's a lot of different questions we can go through, but these are some of the big ones. So this is the piece for you. If something happened to you tomorrow, who would legally make financial decisions for your family? You're in Florida, I thought we're talking about like trusts and wills. An estate plan incorporates everything, right? So just kind of know that it's more than just the trust, and it's more than just a will, right? The trust is only a part of it. Number two, do you currently have a will or trust that clearly states who receives your assets and when? Right? Especially if you have bigger families or siblings, or here's an interesting one, if you've had family that, like, there's divorces and remarriages and all of that, that stuff can get really crazy really fast. If you can kind of imagine, it can look like a Telemundo drama if you don't get this stuff settled really quickly, right? Like, we all watch on the TVs when people pass away and everything gets crazy and people are fighting over houses and assets and millions of dollars. Yes, it's true, and those are real life dramas, right, that are happening on a daily basis. Number three, if you become seriously ill or incapacitated, who would legally be able to make medical decisions for you? When my mom got dementia, she got to a point where we bring her to the bank and she didn't even remember her name. So we actually had to carry documentation that gave us permission to speak for her whenever we went to the bank. Sounds sad, but these are things that happen. About if you know someone who gets into a car accident and they can't, how do you get access to their assets? How do you actually help them? How do you utilize things? These are things that have to be thinking about. If you're technically over 18 years old, you should have some parts of your estate plan in place. Number four, would your family have immediate access to money if something happened to you? Like, how does that happen? Right? And then number five, do you know how much of your estate could be lost to taxes, probate, or legal fees? Right? These are all things that, again, we're not the estate attorneys, but that's what we can help set up those conversations. Because again, think about Bryce, and as showed you from the foundation all the way through the children, like all the things that need to be set up. Wouldn't it be sad if you did all that work to build the house and then you just left it without a roof, right? So all of it works together, and all of it's a really powerful piece, but that's why we have a whole entire conversation. That's why we also even have like lenders here and mortgage professionals and real estate, and we partner with a lot of other people because the financial house has so many other layers that just all need to be taken care of. Fair enough? Well, next slide, Jay. So last thing that we're just going to end on today is just understanding one of the big things, and it is our business and our career and the industry right now, and just kind of letting you know whether it's something that you may identify for yourself, or we actually probably know you may know someone who actually may be looking for what we do. They say families lack an opportunity to start their own business, right? And so for myself, I was in the industry, I was in, like I said, retail for almost 20 years. And one of the things that I quickly realized, even though I wrote the schedules, I never wrote the schedule. Fair enough, and I never had a lot of control until I actually became an independent piece. And for some people, they're okay with that. I wasn't, but some people are looking for that. So next slide, Jay. In our industry right now, and we've talked about this at different points, but I just want you to kind of know why this financial house movement, all the conversations we're having are really, really big. Right now, we're in the middle of the largest wealth transfer in history, right? There's $124 trillion shifting in. Who was I just talking to about we were just talking about the movement, I guess, right? We're just talking about this outside, right? $124 trillion is shifting hands. The financial industry is double real estate and retail combined, which always gives you a little perspective. How many of you guys know how big $1 trillion is, by the way? It's a lot, right? So let me give you a little piece. You can spend $1 million a day, $1 million a day for 2,000 years, and you would then hit $1 trillion. Is that a little long time? And there's 24 trillion of those, right? So just think about that. It's a huge, huge opportunity of what we're looking at. 78 million baby boomers are part of this shifting. Every single day, about 10,000 baby boomers turn 65 up until the end of 2030. And then we've got the rest of the generations, right, of population. So there's a lot of people who actually need help with this financial house. Next slide, Jay. And so we're looking for people, We are. Our industry, like, we can't serve everybody. We can't, like, there's just no physical way to sit down and do the finance. Even with AI, even with technology, even with all the things that we do, people still want to talk to somebody about their stuff. Does that make sense? Like, people still need a person. And so because of that, the industry is right now identified to need 600,000 more people to serve. 600,000, right? And one of the reasons is the older financial advisors are retiring. They've got their stuff in order, but there's no one else. A lot of this, the traditional industry didn't have a replacement model. They just served all the way to their retirement age, and then they go, peace out. They're like, who's to help me next? Go find someone. That's usually the strategy, right there. Because most of their kids or anything like that don't want to take over their businesses or their careers. That's the way it is. And then this one's always kind of fascinating to me. There are currently 10 times more realtors than financial professionals right now. And for that purpose, we just know, and if I had another slide, the industry has really shifted to, the financial space is really looking for the financial planning and the financial professional outlook of what we do. Next slide, Jay. And so we want to be a little transparent here because some people are like, well, is there money in this industry? Like, why would I look at it? And is it something I should look at? Here, again, maybe it's not for you, but maybe it's someone you know. And so we talked to you through the entire financial house today, all the different layers. And yes, we can go into more depth, but that's case by case and all of that. But I want to kind of just tell you of a scenario. And this is just like this could be one household. Okay, so this could be just one household. So think about a family, 40-year-old family, husband, wife, 2 kids. And inside of their house, they have income protection. So they're putting about $200 a month to their life insurances with living benefits. Make sense? Is that pretty fair to think about? They're doing one of those debt action plans that Bryce was talking about. They got an extra $1,000 in their household that they're reallocating to debt. The way it says $1,000 a month, this is really more for the agent side. We don't get compensated on the whole $1,000. There's a compensation based on about 1/3 of it. So just to kind of help for those in the room who, hey, like, how does it work? They're also setting up they're setting up 2 tax-free retirements like Bryce talked about. They're putting $1,000 a month, we get paid on about 1/3 of it. And then they also did one of the annuities. They rolled over one of their old 401ks. Are we good so far? Just kind of a similar family. And then the 2 little kids in the house are doing about $100 a month, and we get paid on 100 of it. So these are very transparent numbers. As a financial agency owner in our company, this is how much gets generated from the one house, right? How much does it say? $22,000 for helping one family. And so I don't know if anyone's in real estate or have that, like, you've heard of people selling houses, making, $20,000, $30,000 selling a house. So in financial houses, there's a similar basis behind it without actually selling the house, right? So just part of it. And as someone in our company, as an agency owner, sold one house a month, did the entire strategy planning for that. It's about $250,000 plus annually of income, right? And they're paid on 1099, so there's tax advantages, all of that. The reason we share all that is just that maybe it's not for you, but maybe you know someone who's actually looking to change careers or looking for that, all working from home. So just an FYI. The only part of the house that was not talked about was the estate planning. Again, those are usually referrals or we have other solutions, right? So it's not always directly reflected in compensation. It's usually a separate number. Any questions about this? There's a lot of numbers. Did anyone know this is how much you can make in our industry? Right, it's pretty crazy, right? Like, you have no idea. Most people just have no clue what it is. So I share this transparently because this has always been, sometimes people are like, oh my gosh, you're sharing the numbers. Here's why. I think it's personally important that clients and agents know that we get paid well so that they expect a good service, right? Like, that's why you get your medical bills. It's pretty transparent, right? Like, you hope that your doctor saves your life, right? Well, if we're gonna save people's financial houses or financial lives, we should get compensated well, and I think we do to do a good job, right? So just so you're aware. Yeah. Jay, you can go next, I think. So why is it so important to understand? Well, the way we do business is shifting. It actually has shifted, right? And this says work from home, but the reality is it really should be WFA, which means work from anywhere. Yeah, that's really the truth. I was working in the car today while we were driving here, right? Like, you just use a hotspot and you can still do business. You can do appointments. You can do all of that. Here's what's interesting about the industry of where we're at, right? Uber, the largest taxi company, right, owns what? No vehicles, right? Right? Facebook shares the most content, and this I know is probably a debatable comment on that one, but they create actually no content, right? That's actually everyone else's content they're making money off, and all the users, user data, right? Amazon and Alibaba, they don't have really any of their own inventory. They're using most of it through others. And then Airbnb is the biggest accommodations, and they don't own any of the places, right? Pretty crazy. Well, GFI, we're now the largest fintech distributor, and we own actually, we don't actually own the products. We're just a distribution channel using fintech technology and all those pieces. So this is what's happening right now. So the opportunity for us to work from anywhere, be part of the large distribution. You understand, we didn't get into all the details. That's what the second half is today. We're actually even global. We can actually do what we're talking about, building these financial houses globally as well, which is pretty cool. So anybody know someone out of the country, right there? So that's a huge opportunity. Jay, next slide. The company, I just shared this. We have some amazing people. The company is founded on an amazing amount of leadership. For me, there's a lot of things I can share about GFI, but leadership to me is very, very important. Our executive team, our C-level suite people is fantastic. Marcel Macias, who's our direct mentor, for me and Bryce is actually our direct mentor, is also part of the GFI International expansion. So we're excited that we're just part of an amazing piece. I can share lots and lots of data about all of them. What I want you to know on the screen here is GFI itself has only been around for a little over 2 years as a company, but if I added all the years of experience of our main executives and board, it's over 200 years of experience, right? So it's a new company with a lot of experience. You have people like me who've been around for 12 plus years that are coming into this industry and this platform to help expand and grow. So again, GFI may be new, but it's not new in experience. Next slide. So kind of in closing, before we go to lunch and that is, where do you see yourself starting out? Well, if you're here today as a client, receive a free financial house review. Like I said, no matter what, I think no matter where you step into, is get that financial house review. Take a look at your own house. See where you're at. It doesn't hurt to take a look, and then see where there could be upgrades, potentials. I just sat with a family the other day, and they actually had everything. But you know what was interesting? There was one really interesting thing. They had insurance, they had savings, they had whole life, they had indexed universal life, they had a lot of things. They had an annuity, they actually had a 401k, they had stuff for the kids. But you know what they realized really quickly in the conversation? They knew where none of it was. Right? They had never sat down and actually kind of looked at it as a whole. It was just all in pieces. So what we're doing is we're putting it all together for them to kind of organize it, and then we're assessing, right? And then seeing where we can actually make adjustments, or just make sure it's in the right place and they're just handling it the way they need to handle it, right? Again, all of that for us has been valuable because, again, the more people that understand it, because I want you to kind of think about it, how powerful would it be in just thinking about your own family and community if everybody had their financial house in order? Wouldn't that be just like a good peace of mind, just knowing that, because life is going to happen, right? All the scenarios we talked about are going to happen, but that at least that you know when life does happen, that your financial town, right, the houses within your town are all handled, right? So that you don't have to worry about it, and you can just deal with it the way you need to deal with it, and not add the layer of financials, right? And that's really what we're about. And if you kind of saw, hey, Floria, I kind of like this agent thing, like. Just know as an agent, there's a lot of different ways people get started with us. There's a revenue sharing. Revenue sharing basically means you have already your own business, and you can learn to get licensed and refer business and get paid on it. Like so we see this a lot with CPAs, mortgage professionals, any kind of industry professional. We see them do that. We want you to continue doing what you're doing, but you obviously know there's a value to adding the financial house as an add-on value. Referral, this is usually someone who maybe is like a super mom, super dad. They're very, very busy, and they just have active communities, and they're like, hey, can I just refer clients and get paid on them? That answer is yes, right? Because sometimes you just need to be super moms. Being super mom or super dad takes a lot of work, so sometimes people do it on a referral basis. Other one is part-time, maybe you just have less hours and you're looking to add another part-time career, or so we're looking at it from a full-time. So there's a lot of different ways that's very unique for us. For me, I actually started as a referral agent, right? And my own story was, my first client I referred was my best friend and his wife. They did their financial house. My first referral check in the industry was $30,000. $3,500. That was a referral check because they did the whole house, and so I got $3,500. I was like, wow, and then I quickly asked the question, if I learn how to do this, that means I get to do everything, right? They're like, yeah, you make at least double. I was like, okay, we need to figure that out. Because at that time, $7,000 would replace my full-time income, right, as a retail manager. You got it? It took me 20 years to get to a salary that would be replaced by helping one family do their financial house. Like, to me, for me at the time, I had to figure it out, right? So there, agency owner, maybe you have some leadership or bigger ambitions. Our company has a huge ownership opportunity where you can actually have a part of the company if that's something that's interesting to you, if that's something you're open to, or you know others that are. We're always open to that conversation. And Jay, last one. And it wouldn't be right if we didn't walk away with a lot of information of why we know so much and that we encourage. So you can take a picture of this. There's a lot of different books you can read and information. You can ask the person who invited you, hey, can you give me a copy of the book if you want? Or we can get those. We don't have them here in person, but these books are all available on Amazon. They're really good books about a lot of the products and strategies that we talked about today, right? And how they place to come together. And of course, we have the Financial House book is coming out. There's actually never a book written about the Financial House. And that book was written, remember that name Marcel Macias? That's actually who wrote the book, right? So he actually wrote the book, which is pretty cool, in English and Spanish. So we're excited about it because what we're doing is actually, even though the concept has been around for a while, no one's actually been really teaching it, right? And so I just think it's a really big deal for all of us to be around. Next slide, Jay. Last slide. Perfect. And we're obviously going to talk about the Financial House. If you have more questions, you've been excited about it, you can scan this. I think, Bryce, this goes to goes to Bryce's link to make sure you can get a time with, this actually, this goes to a type form, and you can go through the type form, and it actually will have you just assess your own financial house. So you can take a picture of that, go through do it if you're open to it, and then at the end of it, if you're open to an appointment, you can book that as well to go through that information. Okay? Awesome. Good. Questions? A lot of stuff, right? Is that a lot of information? Yes, it's okay to say that. A lot of information. But how many of you guys are like, great, I need to actually take a look at my financial house? Would that be like something to think about? Yeah. Like, I hope it is. Just like I said, take a note from us and take the time to do it. And then just think about if you think of your own family and those around you would actually need to take a look at their own financial house as well, right? That's what we're here to do. So we appreciate you guys. That's the end of our first half of the workshop. I think we have lunch, right, for you guys. And then, of course, we'll be around to answer questions and chit-chat, and then we've got some great information. Nice.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Was that awesome? Thank you, Floria. So real quick, we do have